have been.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And Kenton, I'll start with a shout out to our student Steven, who told me about, I didn't see this, but there was a new ad released for the Star Wars Hotel this week or last week, was it?
Yes, I think I've seen the thing that you're talking about. Yeah.
So Steven was the one who told me about this ad, and then they talked about. Of course, we know this is the hotel that's super expensive, and it's really it's a hotel, but it's also a Star Cruiser. So really, you're not going outside. That's the thing that Steven pointed out, is that you're not going outside. It's basically you're paying thousands of dollars to stay in a room with no windows, which is it's pretty funny when you think about it. But it does look cool. You got to admit, it does look cool. It does look like you'd be in a Star. If you had the money, would you do this?
I mean, it's such a. If it was in my hometown, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not.
You have to
I'm
take
not
a few more berries there. Yeah, you have to.
I'm not going to travel to do this, and you're right. It has a coolness factor to it that I find interesting, but this isn't really my thing. I think you can say this is like Westworld for Star Wars. All the robots are going to turn on us.
That's going to happen. That's going to happen. But yeah, and the other thing that's interesting about this now, Stephen pointed out one of the ads. In one of the ads, the little girl that's playing, like you play out these scenarios, you get to kind of role play as characters in Star Wars. And one of the scenarios, the little girl's like narking on Chewbacca. It's like turning Chewbacca over to the First Order. And I'm like, who wants to do that? Why is that a desired thing where you get to turn in the rebels?
Why do stormtroopers listen to kids?
I don't know. Why are they still
from anywhere?
Why are they still pushing this whole First Order thing? I think they should leave that behind. I think nobody cares about the First Order or any of that stuff. Let's dial it back, bring it back to the area that everybody wants them to play. They really, what it is, I thought of this the other day. Fans want them to play in the house that George built. Like basically in the era around the original films, around the prequels, that's where they want the Star Wars content to happen. That's why Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and now Obi-Wan Kenobi are so popular and getting so much attendance, because it's good and it's bringing us back to what George did. Even though it's not George doing it, we still love it.
It's funny that nobody wants the First Order. No one wants Rey. Nobody wants. And yesterday, I was looking at some Star Wars figures, and specifically, I asked myself the question, why have I got 3 Poe figures? Why do I need 3 Oscar Isaac figures in my collection? And the answer is I do not. And I don't want them, and they don't look like him. And even if they did, that character did not have a trajectory of any kind that interests me anymore. So just looking at them kind of conjures up bad feelings in me at this point. But I still don't dislike the First Order redesign of the stormtroopers or anything.
Oh no, those are good. It's actually pretty nice. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, like that. Like it's not without merit. It's just there's a lot of that stuff that never paid off, and that we bought at the time or that we wanted to see at the time. That now it sort of seems like why do I have the BB-8 getting captured by like 2 sand people figures? Why do I have those? Like they're not even sand people. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's horrible. I'll do a TikTok with it next week. Like I need. It comes with a net. Like I need to relive the magic moment when they threw a net on BB-8, right? So there's all that garbage. And when I look at this hotel, there is some degree of that's going on there. That's just a little less enticing than, as you said, than as the stuff that is more closely associated with it. And what if this was with the Mandalorian something or other?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Is that I think that, maybe we'll take a deeper look at what this actually offers one day. But I think that what we're going to see is that stuff's going to disappear. Of course, they made it all First Order, because at the time they were planning this, those were the movies, and they thought that was going to continue. But now Star Wars has shifted, right? We're shifting away from that. We're now into this other time period. So we're going to start seeing more Mandalorian. They're going to work in Mandalorian themed stuff, Boba Fett themed stuff, Obi-Wan. Everything that we see on Disney Plus is now going to be worked into this. And it's really like, now that they have the platform here, this hotel that exists that is basically built in a Star Wars style, they can really make it whatever they want, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they can, and I hope they will. But I mean, there's no, like, you could see the love for Obi-Wan after that trailer. And, Mandalorian is like the hottest Star Wars thing with Baby Grogu in decades, really.
Mhm.
And Book of Boba Fett, well, yeah, some people didn't like it, but I sure enjoyed it.
Mhm.
So I think if they plug into what's going on Disney Plus, I think by definition you're going to get a higher degree of interest in this thing. Like now, yeah, who knows? Maybe Rian Johnson will suddenly be finished that trilogy of films that he was working on.
The Broom Boy trilogy.
Yeah, like that's gonna happen, and then suddenly it'll all plug into what we're seeing here. Right. It's possible, but I don't know. Like if anybody could tell you, including whoever the CEO of Disney is, could tell you that's where the action is in Star Wars.
I don't remember. He's a Bob too, isn't he? But I don't remember his last name.
He's gone now, though, isn't he?
Oh, is it because he said? Yeah, because he said that stupid thing about. Oh my God, what an idiot!
Did he say something stupid, or did he?
Well, yeah, I saw him. Did you watch?
I thought he was just retiring anyway, right?
No, but yeah, he retired, but the new guy said something stupid.
Really?
I remember he's also Bob, but it was about the on last week tonight. It was about the "Don't Say Gay" bill, which is this horrible thing in the U.S. And Disney is like backing some of this Florida senators. Of course, they're backing Florida senators because they own Walt Disney World. They own land in Florida, so they have to back the people that set the taxes. But one of these, like a lot of these senators are backing this "Don't Say Gay" bill, which is not looking good for Disney. And so the CEO came out and said, our statement is the vast array of diverse movies we have, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then John Oliver made the joke that the most popular song from Encanto is about not talking about somebody. So that was the whole blowback on that. I don't know his status now. But all this to say that they're having a hard time filling the rooms at the hotel. That's the story here.
His name is Bob, probably pronounced Chapek.
Okay.
But it's Chapek, so there's a possibility that's not how it's pronounced. Mm-hmm. And it says he is still CEO. And I do believe that they also Disney issued an apology for not.
They did, yes, they did, absolutely.
Yeah, right, for not speaking clearly on this quicker.
Yes, yeah, right. And that was. Thank you for clarifying that, Kenton. Excellent.
I was feverishly Googling while you were talking there.
Good job. That's what we need to do. Talk and Google, offset everything.
It's hard to do. People don't realize that's the hardest thing when you're doing a podcast. Yeah. It's like teaching in a way. As you're teaching or as you're recording a podcast, often that's when you just forget everything. Right. Because there's a performance aspect to it. Mm-hmm. And it actually takes focus and concentration. Believe it or not, it actually takes that in order to make something halfway coherent.
Before we move on to our main topic is going to be the story about the creative overhaul of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We heard about this. We knew there were rewrites early on. We'd heard about them taking a break, coming back to it. So now we've got the details of it. We'll get into that first. But first, in a second. But first, I want to talk with you about your TikTok. You mentioned TikTok, and you posted one the other day or yesterday, maybe, that showed these double figures. Right. It showed what seemed to be some really odd pairings. What are the pairings on these figures?
One is Akbar with the First Order officer. Which makes no sense. It's
sequel Akbar, so it's like the darker skinned Akbar, older Akbar, I guess you could say.
Right, with I think that's a female First Order officer.
Okay.
So that's an odd combo, and then we've got Poe with the stormtrooper who shouts "traitor." So the wrong guy. So they put them together. And then there's Rey, my favorite. Don't buy this set. And it was so poorly done. I don't even know why I have it. But Rey with a rock, and you put her on the rock, and then there's a Kylo figure with the rock that fits into it. But to this day, I've never seen that Kylo figure. So the odd combo is Rey and a rock. Like that's it. That's all you get in this box.
She'll stand on it. I don't know about the rock necessarily, but are these other ones just them kind of repackaging peg warmers? Like these are the ones that didn't sell. They didn't sell Akbar. They didn't sell the First Order, female First Order officer. So just return them and then put them in a new box and then ship them out again?
I don't think so. I don't think at the time they were available separate figures. Maybe Akbar was, maybe. But and Poe was available as a separate figure. I don't believe the Traitor Stormtrooper was available as a separate figure. And I don't believe the female First Order officer was ever a separate figure. So.
Why then? Why? It's a weird pairing. It is very weird.
And it's also weird. Why would you flood the market with Rey and a rock if it's supposed to fit into the Kylo Ren one, which I've never seen anywhere.
Maybe they just didn't get to that one. Maybe they didn't release it.
Well, no, I'm sure they did, but I just never saw it here. But it's kind of weird. Like, hey, when you're shipping it, you know what to do. Like, put the same number of the ones that fit together. But I also think a lot of that stuff was a bomb. Like the stuff that was supposed to fit together or buy two and then have one thing. I think people are sort of wise to that. And I don't think that stuff is selling like maybe it once would have.
Yeah, I think they're looking for a new gimmick because the one for, I guess, I don't know if they ever did this for Star Wars, but for Marvel, there was that Build-A-Figure series where each figure comes with a part of another guy and you have to collect them all to build the new guy, which is cool. I think that's a cool idea. So you get a whole other figure by collecting the set, right? And that's kind of, and I don't know if they still do that or not, but that would be a cool thing to do in Star Wars. Like they should do something like that.
I think they do still do it. I saw, the one that I was sort of interested in, but you had to buy way too many figures to build it, was the Sentinel. The Sentinel from X-Men was one of them. And I saw one recently, another big figure. I can't remember what it is now, but it's the same idea where you have to buy a number of figures and then piece it together. So they're still doing that, but it's, you are still just paying for one figure in the box. It doesn't appear to be a premium to then get the bonus figure at the very
but that's
end.
what I'm saying. That
a loyalty program.
That's exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Is that they need to find a way to try and encourage people. You're just talking about there's too many to collect. That's an issue, right? There shouldn't be too many figures in a set. It should be like 4 or 5, maybe, if you want to get like a little, because you have to kind of break it down to small. Nobody's going to collect everything. Very, very few people are going to collect everything. You used to do this, and you kind of
you can't do it anymore.
You can't. No, there's too much.
You can't. Well, there's two reasons why you can't. There's too much of stuff. Number one. Number two, there's too much stuff and not enough distribution. And how anybody can do it. I listened to a podcast with people who collect Star Wars as their primarily what it's about. And they're always complaining about how hard it is to find figures. And like once in a while, one of their listeners will send them one and that kind of stuff. And they're still buying variants and stuff, just like, holy, like die hard. They're going to get it done no matter what. And that is so much work. And the cost is so high. So,
you got to pick your niche.
Yeah. Props to anybody who can get it done, who can still do it. But holy, that Hasbro does not wish to make it easy.
They should be making it easy is the point, right? We'll come back to that. I think that's a good topic. We'll come back whenever we get around to our toy discussion that got sidetracked by the Obi-Wan trailer last week.
I think we'll live to see another day with that toy discussion.
Exactly. Yes.
Only because we're bound at some point to get a release of figures tying into all the Disney Plus everything.
Exactly.
And they've been kind of slow on that, So I'm kind of hoping for the Disney Plus edition collection of maybe Obi-Wan, Mandalorian, Boba Fett, and maybe a little Cassian Andor in there as well. Maybe since that one's probably coming
Ahsoka too. Ahsoka, right?
All right, Ahsoka too. Right.
Yeah. So, the big story this week is, of course, now where did this come from? Some interview somewhere.
The Hollywood Reporter.
Okay, Hollywood Reporter, and this is, but who gave the information is what I'm asking. Like, who was interviewed? Can you summarize it for us, Kenton?
Well, I love the subhead. Mauled. Ray Park, who originated the character Darth Maul with the Phantom Menace, was expected to come back as the character, but was written out according to multiple sources. Yeah. You can usually count on the Hollywood Reporter. It's a legitimate reporting entity. And so they say that Darth Maul is no longer expected to appear in Obi-Wan Kenobi, but not only was he initially slated to return to the live-action Disney Plus series as a key villain, but Ray Park was back to reprise the role. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. And then they also say, and this is pretty interesting too, that sources said that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau were concerned that Obi-Wan was covering similar ground as The Mandalorian, the lone wolf and cub-like story of Kenobi coming out of hiding to protect a child-aged Luke Skywalker. And Maul was one of the villains who would participate in the hunt for the pair. Vader was nowhere to be found at this stage. And also Filoni and Favreau pushed Chow in the show to go bigger. And that's where Darth Vader came from.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and it says, in any case, those concerns made their way to Lucasfilm head Kathy Kennedy, who pushed the pause button. And what that tells you is Filoni and Favreau have capital over there at Lucasfilm. And they went running to the boss and said, like, hey, boss, you're diluting the brand. You're diluting our Mandalorian. with this story, and it should be different. And in some ways, it's good that it's different because now we've got Christian Haydenson, we've got Darth Vader, we've got some Inquisitors. It's a very compelling story. However, I will miss Darth Maul. I have to be honest. I'm going to miss him in this.
Well, and that's not to say they can't bring him back somewhere else, but I think what's interesting about this is I like that idea of thinking bigger, and it shows kind of that difference in thinking that old way of thinking that we were experiencing. Like we were so blown away by CGI Luke, and then like all the stuff that came in this past season of the Book of Boba Fett, because we never thought they would ever do this kind of stuff. We never thought it was possible, and of course it's possible. They're the ones making it, so that's the mentality they're in. They're like, okay, well, who's Obi-Wan's nemesis? It's Darth Maul, because in the past it's been Darth Maul. Obi-Wan, like we can't go back to that Obi-Wan Darth Vader thing because that's a prequel movie. We can't make we're not making a movie here. We're making a series. So they're Filoni and Favreau are trying to break them out of that way of thinking. That's what they're trying to do. And I'm glad they did. This is an interesting story, and it just kind of shows how they are shifting the way they are thinking about creating Star Wars. Again, it's about playing in George's yard, so to speak.
Right, but and I think you're right that also Darth Vader is one of the biggest trademarks in Star Wars, and I think the idea that he could be an Obi-Wan didn't occur to anyone, and including me. The idea that there would be another showdown apart from what we saw in Revenge of the Sith just didn't seem like it wasn't even on my radar. So the idea that they would go in that direction is interesting. It's a surprise. And I hope there's lots, as I've said before, I hope there's lots of other surprises in here as well. However, we like Solo, and I do like the idea that we could somehow get that part of the series continued or wrapped up, or of course there's going to be a Lando series that we already know about. So hey, there is other
I
stuff.
forgot about that.
Yeah. Oh, well, assuming who knows? They throw out a lot of names, and then some of the stuff probably will never get made. True. But it could be, and I really hope that they do at some point pursue that. And Ray Park's not getting any younger, so it would be it'd be great to have him back at least one more time.
Yeah, and it's not only about this kind of retreading the Lone Wolf and Cub thing, which is true, is what they were doing, but also kind of retreading what Rebels did a bit. Like Rebels already kind of concluded that Darth Maul and Obi-Wan thing. So I don't think we need to come back to it. Like I think it's a good move, and it just shows how the creative process works and how you should not be afraid to press pause. Like this is probably what didn't happen during the Rise of Skywalker, right? Like this is like on multiple levels. You press pause and you think you might be going awry, and you rethink it and come back to it, and they did, and then they think they have a better product now.
Well, they also said that they recast the young actor playing Luke Skywalker because Luke would have had a bigger role in the initial one. And now I think we're just going to see him from afar.
Oh, I didn't realize that part. Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's also in this article. Mm-hmm. And I think so. Too bad for that actor who was going to play Luke. But it would be weird if Luke Skywalker went on a huge adventure with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then we see A New Hope 10 years later, and he has no recollection. Like, who's this guy? Who's this old guy? I mean,
yes, it doesn't make sense. Yes,
right. Like, he's just some strange old hermit. Oh, I went on an adventure with him less than 10 years ago. Like, what? That would be a weird discussion to have after the fact, but then you'd have to do just like they do in Revenge of the Sith, where they said wipe the droid's memory kind of thing. And you're like, okay, problem solved. So probably there would have been some kind of brain descrambler.
Oh, come on. That's just complicates it. It's better this way. It's better this way. We don't want to see Kid Luke too much. That takes away the mystique of Luke. And honestly, I feel like Mark Hamill, that's his character now. I don't feel like it's okay to have a little kid playing him in a show or whatever. Let's please not put Mark Hamill's face on a little child. But well, somebody should do it just for fun, just see what it would look like. Yeah. But let's let him have that character. It's Mark Hamill's character. So he can create going forward. Like we'll see him as CGI Luke probably for a while in other things, and maybe as older Luke and other things as well. And that's Mark Hamill's character, right? Let's not get somebody else involved at this point.
I think they should have gotten the 45-year-old lady who plays baby Celine Dion in the biopic.
That's what I was setting you up for.
With CGI. I think she needs to come back. I think they need her for the role of Luke Skywalker. I think it has to be done because what could be creepier than that?
Okay. And this has been updated with This has been updated with some source saying Ray Park did not come to the set. So I guess this the original story said that he did come to the set, and they did, but they did contact him. They did basically hire him, right? I'm sure they wrote a contract. He was being hired. He's got paid something out of this because he can't just like say no and not pay them. So Ray Park made a little bit of money out of whatever they got him to do.
The original article said that Ray Park was on set, but it was unclear if they were just, scanning or scoping out.
Maybe he was just visiting because he's a Star Wars actor. If the actor who plays Darth Maul visits a Star Wars set, let him visit.
Well,
right?
To me, it sounded more like he had come into he came into work. There's no doubt.
Okay.
But that it was unclear if stuff was if it was a set where things were being shot, or it was a planning stage of what
or
they
like a
might
meeting or
do.
something. Right.
And I think if there's confusion, the implication is he was doing moves, he was doing stuff. Maybe there was capturing it. Who knows? But this clarifies that he was not on a set, which means they were not shooting some other version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So that just clarifies it a little bit. But that's not to say that there wasn't some stage of planning, and it's also not to say that he wasn't paid for his work. I'm sure money changed hands if they were consulting with him at that point. And I do hope, and maybe even usually when something like that doesn't play out, there's usually a plan B. There's usually but don't worry, we're doing this blah, blah, blah thing. And and you'll just do the same thing, except in this show. Right. I mean, Cassian Andor, I don't think that's a place for Darth Maul. I don't know.
I think it might be. So. I think Ahsoka might be a good place for it. Ahsoka, that's the same kind of area.
But although Ahsoka will take place the same time as The Mandalorian, right?
Again, I'm very confused about the timeline. So yes, that's true. So that's way after.
Right. So he wouldn't be. Well, he could. They could
flashbacks.
Whatever. They could have added more metal. Hey, the mod guy is on Tatooine, and who knows when he started that business.
That's right.
And so maybe possible.
Darth Maul could have been one of his first customers, right? That initial, remember his first legs where he had the spider legs outfit? Yes. That was very intense, and that could have been the mod guy for sure.
That could have been the mod guy. Could have been involved in the spider legs. He could have been involved the second go round. Although Obi-Wan probably just made sure he finished the job. Yeah. On that second, we saw the one hit and you're out sort of thing, but probably after the show faded to black, he lobbed off his head. He probably went to town. Maybe he even had a barbecue after that, but he probably made sure, always make sure you get rid of your nemesis is a lesson. And a lesson that Obi-Wan learned at least once in Star Wars, which is I'm leaving you here to burn, Anakin. Because I know there's no way that you could ever blah, blah, blah. And he leaves. And then, of course, had he ended the job there, we wouldn't even be seeing, we wouldn't have seen Star Wars. There'd be no A New Hope.
There'd be nothing. Right. It wouldn't be a story. I want to change this. I just thought of this now. I just Googled Star Wars news. Let's see if anything came up, because oftentimes things happen after we finish recording. And I'm like, let's just see if there's anything popping up. And I thought this was interesting. Let's take a look at this one. Comingsoon.net. Samuel L. Jackson still wants to return as Mace Windu in Star Wars. I'm going to click on it. There's the clickbait. I clicked on it. Let's see what it says. There's a nice photo of Sam. Oh, he has acted in some.
Real.
This is real. It is from comingsoon.net. Samuel L. Jackson has acted in some of the biggest movie franchises, and in a recent interview, he revealed that he still wants to return to one of those large roles: Star Wars Jedi Master Mace Windu. So
of course he wants to.
Oh, come on.
Of course he does. He's in every movie, and if he's in every movie, he might as well be in a movie or a TV show featuring Star Wars. He loves that character. We love that character, and we know he's not dead, just like we knew Boba Fett wasn't dead in the Sarlacc pit. So let's just get it over with. I'm with him.
Yeah,
let's get it over with. Let's pull him out of the Sarlacc pit and get on with the show. I think that could be really good.
I feel, and I the part of the recent Star Wars that I've watched that I thought about that most was when we saw the brief flashback of the Jedi Temple from Baby Grogu, and I think just a few blocks away, Mace is getting thrown out of a window. Right. Just it's honestly is happening. So that's those two things I think are connected. But I like this idea, and as far as that article goes, this is just basically saying he said it in an interview. That's it. So nobody's approached him. Nothing has happened. He just said that he wanted to do it, which is not really newsworthy in my mind.
I think he says. I think he was working with Bryce Dallas Howard, and he said. The
only person I've ever said that to about coming back was Bryce Dallas Howard, because I just did a movie with her, and she directs episodes of The Mandalorian. Oh, okay, of course. Yeah. So he's talking about people like, hey, Star Wars. Hey, I was in Star Wars. How about that?
Can you imagine how badass he'd be in The Mandalorian, but he'd be all disfigured from his battle with the Emperor, and he would be like, once again, he would have had to work through the stages of grief, just like we're going to see Obi-Wan doing in the series, getting over sort of the big failure of their ability to stop the Emperor when they had their best chance. And it could be a very interesting return to that character, I think.
Yeah, and it's I'm sure that conversation they had between him and Bryce Dallas Howard was interesting because they've done so many cool technological advances on that show.
Yeah.
On Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. Like it's like and also I'm sure they'll be doing it on the other ones, but it's like the what do they call that surround, like the thing that they just shoot on where there's that big full they have a name for it. I can't remember right now. And so I'm sure like she's talking that up, saying, come on back, Sam. You know you want to do it. And he does. And so I'm sure we'll see it. You're right. And so will we see it in Obi-Wan? I don't know. Probably not. I don't think we're there yet, but because Obi-Wan's ready to go. But we may see it in a movie. I don't know. We'll see it sometime.
I'm sticking to The Mandalorian. I think that's the best. I think that's the best place for him to return. I think it'd be easy to work him into that plot. And especially now the Mandalorian knows Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker knows all the Jedi. He knows everything. And, if they wanted to, they could have even had Luke drop that on Ahsoka. Like they could have had a discussion where we found out just who is left out there. And it could have been a very interesting who's left out there. Because there could have been more than just Mace Windu, but that's the big one that comes to mind. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see. But I don't think it's going to be The Mandalorian. I'll say that. I think it'll be something else. But that's all I can guess at right now because I don't know. But we'll see. You
think it'll be a show dedicated to Mace Windu?
I don't know.
Title character?
No, because they would have to introduce him at some other point and see the reaction first. That's kind of what they did with Ahsoka. It really is like they wanted to see the reaction to how people liked Rosario Dawson, and people loved it, so they went ahead with that. So I think that's what they would do first is bring him in. But I mean, it would make more sense for him to be in Obi-Wan than in The Mandalorian, really, because that's right adjacent to that movie. Like he dies in Revenge of the Sith, and Obi-Wan is a sequel to Revenge of the Sith. So really it makes more sense for him to be in that. But I don't think he will be because it's ready to go and they would have shot it by now if they'd done anything with him.
Unless they did a flashback from the Jedi Temple, which is possible, or flashback from Coruscant, not just the Jedi Temple, because of course, Mace Windu was not at the Jedi Temple. He was at the Emperor's office. Right. So they could, and we do see those two escape pods in Obi-Wan. So we might go back there. There is a glimmer of a chance that we learn what of Mace Windu's fate there. I don't think so though, but there's a glimmer. It's possible. Right. And similarly, there's a glimmer. It's possible, not likely though, that we see Grogu, who took Grogu away, and how that all played out. And then how did they lose Grogu after that? Like how did how did he end up in that place where Mando found him at the beginning of The Mandalorian, right? So that's another part of the story they have to tell. It's all very interesting.
Yes, and it's so exciting to talk about, and we're going to continue doing it as we continue the podcast. But that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you on the ass.
I'm taking an awful risk, Vader. This had better work.